Netflix has delivered a genuinely freaky tale with Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. It might give you nightmares. This Netflix limited series features a family who purchases a large estate, Hill House, in an effort to renovate it, then flip it for a profit. The family is made up of the mom and dad and then 5 siblings, 2 of which are twins, the youngest 2. The kids experience different supernatural occurrences, and each one adds its own level of terror to the story. Now, I love that we get a lot of backstory in this series, that they don't just rush through character development, that for a lot of the episodes, especially at the beginning, they're focused on a character. And each time it ratchets up that terror level, and you just start to go, ooh, this is creepy, and you see things that they see and what they experience, while other people are experiencing something different. Now, the filmmakers showed great restraint in the way that they shot this gothic tale, because they didn't just fill it with jump scares and just make it cheap. Now, there are some jump scares, but they are very sparing, and they come at just the right time, and it truly will scare you. But I think where it comes to the restraint is that they showed stuff in the very far background, or just barely. And so if you're not paying attention, you don't see it. And so a lot of the time, I found myself, like, some of us weren't paying attention as we were watching each and every minute of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, did you see that? And they're like, what? No. And so we would rewind it, or somebody else would go, ah! I'm like, wait, what? What was that? I missed it. Well, that's it. That you have to pay attention to it all, because it's not all happening in the foreground. There is so much just gnarly stuff in the background that is barely visible. Now, like I said with the characters, they take their time to really introduce each one. And I love that, the pace of the film, because it draws us in and builds a real connection with each of the characters. Now, the cinematography is really good because it just has these grand shots that to just show us the epicness of the mansion, of the estate. And it really sets up this gothic horror-ish film that you're just kind of unsettling. And then it's either in episode 6 or episode 7, the whole episode is set with long continuous shots, and it was wonderful to see. I love when shows do this or movies do this, because it really shows not only that the filmmakers have to have it all dialed in, but then that the actors have to be dialed in as well, that you can't just do a, here's my 3 lines and then, okay, we're going to cut and move on to the next one, or we're going to switch scenes and so you can splice it all together. No, they have to be on cue and know their lines, and maybe it's all ad-libbed, and that's okay too, because it was so fun to watch, because it would just switch around and you would see it. And it reminds me kind of how Alfred Hitchcock did Rope, where he did long continuous takes in that film so that it looked like a single scene of a movie. And what they would do in the background is, as he's filming one thing, the stagehands are moving the set around. And at one point, somebody dropped something and crushed his foot and had to keep silent. And Alfred Hitchcock ran it till the end of the film. And so I think it shot 12 minutes or something like that on each roll. And so he would take 12-minute takes. And that's kind of how this was, that they just go back to some of these really good techniques of utilizing the scene and the space and the characters' talents, or the actors' talents for their characters, to really just provide these long takes. The story takes place in 2 timelines, really. One is at the present day, and then it's also told from the flashback of how they arrived at the house and as they're renovating it. And so you get the young actors and the old actors. All of the actors are really convincing and really well written. And I loved that each nuance that they had and that they brought to the story. If you're up for a really good gothic horror and you want something that is going to stick with you and probably terrify you a little bit and quite possibly give you some nightmares, then The Haunting of Hill House is the thing to see. There is some sex, not really any nudity. There is a lot of profanity and violence. I give it 4.5 out of 5 couches. Are you a fan of gothic horror? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.